Hey everyone, welcome back to GameSpot's E3 2018 stage. I'm Mike Mahardy here with Lucy James.
Hey.
And I'm really excited for this one. It'll be our last interview for the day. We are going to be talking to Jon Bloch, who's been working diligently on Metro Exodus since you came on our stage last year, I believe.
Yeah.
And then when was it announced? Was it?
Well, it was announced
last year. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Showed off at the Microsoft stage this year.
Yeah.
So tell us, Metro Last Light is one of my favorite games. I wholeheartedly think it's one of the best shooters ever made. It's a fantastic game. I mean, I love 2033 as well, but Last Light I think is just phenomenal. I'm really excited for Exodus. I had to get my fanboying out of the way. But what are some of the biggest new changes with Exodus that we can expect early next year?
Well, so one of the biggest changes that's an addition really is these new sandbox environments, these big open world style environments that we've added to the game. And we showed a little bit of that last year, but this year we're really diving in and showing off kind of like what it means to play in an open a more open environment in the Metro universe. Previous Metro games, as you know, have been more linear, a lot more focused on kind of crafted experiences that carry the player through, a deep narrative. And in Exodus, we really wanted to expand on that and give players a lot more freedom and a lot more ability to explore the environments. Even this level that we're showing right now, there's many hours of gameplay just in the critical path, and there's many, many more hours of gameplay in side content that we've added to kind of give players more of what they love about Metro.
So from a design point of view for you guys, obviously the two games, you've been very focused on this linear path. What's it been like for you to open up and go to a more open setting?
It's taken a lot of kind of experimenting. I think it took us about 2 years to really land on a formula that we liked that blended the two kind of design ideas. This new idea that we wanted to do, leveraging past experience of some of the team members that had worked on Stalker back in the day, and kind of blending it with this established linear story-driven gameplay that fans of the Metro series have kind of come to know and love. And it took us a while to get there, but we've kind of come up with this new way of doing things that's a little bit unique to us. It's not like a traditional open world style game where it's all fetch quests and going around and just like doing menial tasks for people. We wanted the game to feel a lot more natural in how side content is exposed to players, how they find it. We want players to really immerse themselves in the environment and really feel like they're actually there.
Right. So
narratively, from what I understand, you are traveling across Russia.
Yes.
That sounds pretty ambitious compared to like the first game. You were pretty much almost always in the Metro.
Yeah.
Last Light, you went above ground a little more. It wasn't as irradiated, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was just like you were above ground more in the.
You might have gone to different places.
Right.
It was all within Moscow.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but now you're kind of going the breadth of Russia, so to speak.
Yeah.
What's that like?
The journey in Metro Exodus takes place over the course of a year.
Okay.
And it spans the continent. You go so many different places. And it kind of gave us an opportunity to explore for ourselves and for our fans new environments, new landscapes, and because it takes place over the course of a year, new seasons. And this environment that we're showing off today is our spring environment.
Right.
It takes place just south of Moscow in the Volga region, off the Volga River.
Okay.
And it's this big, expansive environment next to a river. It's kind of swampy. You see the snow is starting to melt. There's possibly weather systems like thunderstorms in this area, and all of these things kind of come together to really show off great new places that the player can go to. So
like, how will I be when I jump into Exodus? You're saying like you're creating these more like open-ended areas. Like how, when I'm playing the game, will it be more like I'll explore this area for a few hours? Like, what will be the impetus to do that? I mean, obviously exploration is rewarding in its own, but will that also lead into like crafting has always been big. Will that be like the survival aspects be kind of feeding into the exploration as well? Yeah. So another new feature that we're introducing this time is we're kind of changing the economy system in the game. Before we had bullets as economy.
Right.
You get these military grade rounds that you could put in your gun for extra power, or you could spend them like money. So you had to kind of think about the balance of that before you approach the situation. Now, that system worked for the society in the Moscow metro system. It worked because they had established it as their currency, but leaving Moscow, it's the wilderness. You don't really know what's out there. There's not necessarily going to be some organized group of people that are living and the same way that people in Moscow are. So it's more of like a scavenging, crafting, and resource management system. So there's like metal bits and chemicals, things like that you can find that when put together you can make things like med packs, gas mask filters, the things that you need. You can also craft ammunition. And so exploration is in Metro Exodus is really important from a standpoint of players want to explore and see what's in there, and you get a lot of fiction delivery that way, but also there's resources that the player needs in order to survive, in order to go and attack a compound. So you're gonna need things in order to survive, right? We've also overhauled the weapon system. Now, in past Metro games, the weapons were customizable, but more in a preset way. You could upgrade and get like a pre-made upgraded version of that weapon. Now we've completely redesigned the weapon system from the ground up. It's more modular. There's 5 hard points on every weapon, and you can swap out anything from a barrel to stock magazines, adding attachments, scopes, lasers, things like that.
I saw in the gameplay, can you just do it directly from your backpack?
Yeah.
Is that all the time?
There's 2 different places that you can do this in. There's workbenches around the environment, and you can do a whole lot more. You can craft everything that you possibly need. You can customize your gear and your weapons. You can craft any of the ammunition you need. You can also clean your weapons, which is a new thing that you need to do in Metro Exodus. You got to maintain them.
Right.
Otherwise, when they get dirty, they'll break down a lot more. They'll overheat a lot more. And generally, performance of the weapon will reduce when they get dirty, so you need to maintain them. Out in the field, at any time, you can use your backpack to do most of the same things. You can change the loadout of the weapon to kind of modify any of the attachments or any of the parts to, say you're going to go into a building and you want to be a bit more stealthy. You can swap out for a silencer and maybe a red dot sight, something for close quarters stealth combat. Then if you're going to go approach another facility from a distance, you can then attach something like a long barrel and a 2x or 4x sight on your weapon. So it gives players the ability to change things on the fly, kind of adapt to their own desired play style, but also maybe something is necessary to change in the moment.
Just to return back to exploration for a moment, like if we're exploring these brand new areas, is there a chance that we can return to them later, or do you kind of have to get all your stuff out of the way before you move on?
So Metro Exodus is still going to be overall a linear kind of progression. There's a story that the player works their way through, and as you make it through certain areas, you're going to continue on. I mean, even within the story, the idea is to continue on and to see what's out there. So it's still going to be more of a linear story arc with a beginning, a middle, and an end, like a story should have.
So the prior 2 games, obviously, like especially Last Light, emphasized stealth using shadows and everything. And with the gameplay we just saw, it looked like you're pushing that again. Are you still trying to go for that? Maybe not binary is the right word, but you can either go stealthy or loud. With the new survival aspects of the game, do you feel as if it's pushing more towards stealth, or is it still just as much of a choice for how you want to play it?
I think it's just as much a choice as before. Even areas that maybe situationally seem more apt to a stealth style approach. If you fail stealth, the game transitions into fully, loud combat scenario. The AI has been overhauled in a lot of ways, human AI and creature AI, particularly in these large environments. It's more of like a biome system where they have these areas that they'll hang out in and they live in, they patrol in, they sleep, they eat. If any outside influence comes in, they will react accordingly, whether that be other AI or whether that be the player as well. Human AI has had a big overhaul this time around, so it's a lot more communicative to the player in the sense of the player can understand a lot more of what they're doing. They talk a lot more amongst themselves and react a lot more naturally, even possibly surrendering if the player has taken out enough of their friends and they kind of like realize, oh, maybe I should give up.
It's funny to see so many games. It seems like survival is a big trend in games right now. I mean, like Fallout 76 is emphasizing a lot. And then you look at like Last Light in 2033, you were doing it for a while already. But it seems like you're going all out into survival with Exodus. Is that like, do you see that as like maybe like a central tenet of this game?
I feel like it always has been to some extent.
Yeah.
We're definitely pushing it a little bit more in this one. We have the opportunity with these open environments to really push that a lot more, because the player this time around gets to kind of set their own pace. In previous Metros, because everything was so crafted and linear, as developers, we kind of set that pace. Like the story kind of sets that pace for everyone. But this time around, the player, even though there's still that narrative thread carrying you through and giving you your main objectives, there's still a lot more opportunity for the player to kind of experience it as they want to.
Are these side quests and missions going to be feeding it back into that main critical path to push it forward, or are they kind of like?
They're kind of like standalone little bits of content that you can experience within the same environment.
Okay.
So that narrative thread will always be there, calling you back to it,
right,
and pushing you along. The side content is kind of there in ways that are going to feel a lot more natural to players to find, the more organic.
So Metro 2033, I think like a lot of see it as a cult classic. Metro Last Light, still like much more exposure. And like anytime people say they like shooters, I say like if you love shooters, you should play Last Light. If you like Half-Life 2, you should play Last Light. Again, it's one of my favorite shooters, but what's it like to have the exposure of being on the Microsoft stage, what, 2 years in a row now? Like it's clearly you're on a much bigger scale and there's much more recognition. What's that like?
It's been really exciting. I mean, it's something that I think to some extent it feels like it's that long time coming kind of a feeling of like. I feel like we've always been a little bit of like an underdog team, where we've done things very similarly through these 3 projects, as far as like the amount of passion and energy that the team puts in to really making these games the way that we want to make them. And I think that it's really nice, it's really humbling, and it's really awesome to see so many people kind of getting behind that and agreeing with us that they like what we're doing as well. So
what's been the fan feedback been like from the new trailer?
So far, it seems really positive. People are getting really excited, and it's really exciting for us to see that too. Like we've tried really hard this time around as well to really take fan feedback into account from previous games.
Right.
Definitely things like I was talking about with the AI systems. A lot of the overhaul came from fan feedback. Adding these open spaces, that it's also come from fan feedback. Fans have been asking for this sort of thing for a long time. We've always wanted to do it, and we finally get the chance to do it this time. And I think everyone's going to be really happy with it.
So earlier in the day, we had Dying Light 2 and the people from Techland come up here, and then we had CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk 2077. Now we have you guys in Metro. I've been saying, and I've been wanting to, I love talking to developers from like that Eastern European scene, because it seems like it's just like this burgeoning like development scene. What's it like to be a part of that?
It's really cool. I mean, it's especially coming from the Western world, it's a corner of the world that isn't really well known to us, especially in a sense of like media that is created in the region. And I think it's really cool to see a lot of really awesome games come out of the area and really showcase the immense amount of talent that is coming out of Eastern Europe, especially in recent years.
Well, Jon Bloch, as the executive producer on Metro Exodus, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to tell people? Or did we cover it?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of the main points, except for the release date.
Yes.
The big one.
Sorry.
The big one.
Which we announced in the trailer that we debuted on the Microsoft stage this year. It's Metro Exodus is coming February 22nd, 2019 on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
As always, Jon Bloch, thank you so much for coming up on our stage.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Have a great rest of the week.
Yeah,
and if you're watching from home, we have a bunch of videos that we have recorded already that we are going to be rolling as soon as this is over, so don't go anywhere. And then later on today, we'll be back on the stage. We'll have a bunch of our partners with GameSpot coming up, and Chastity Vicencio will be taking over. But right now, here are a bunch of videos you can watch to pass the time and catch up on E3 News. See you around.